bee suit, don't you?
Yeah.
I'll get one if I get
I don't need a bee suit.
we got to be getting stung.
That'll be alright. I just don't need to get so close.
Ah, excellent. So here, you can see that's cap, a little bit of cap brood there, and inside there is all larvae. And that looks nice and pearly white. That's curled up in a nice little C, and that's pearly white, which is a good sign there's no EFB or AFB diseases. I'm not going to explain all about them diseases, people have to look them up if they want to know, but that's a good sign that, well, there isn't any EFB or AFB, they're the most ones, diseases I don't want obviously in any hive. That's the ones I look out for most of the time. But these are lovely, they're all lovely, I say pearly white, and the capons are all nice, like digestive biscuits, aren't they? That kind of colour, that's what you want. You don't want them sort of dipping in or anything like that. So the queen is definitely here, and there she is.
Oh, you have marked her, yeah.
Pink. She's a nice big fat one, isn't she? Can you see her?
I don't know, it's a bit difficult.
Right there. Pink mark. That's the queen. Right there. I mean, she's nice and calm as well. She's not charging around the frame. And people are saying, why you marked the pink for? Well, I'm going to mark them all pink now because the years, I know which years, how old the queens are. And generally, I find all of it pointless putting the different colours of different years, because if this queen starts to fail, they're going to replace her anyway. Or I'd know she's starting to fail and I'd replace her. You know, I have no intentions, and I don't think any queen is going to really last 3 or 4 years. They can last that long, as in good layers, but they decline. So I'm tending to change my queens every 2 years anyway. She's a nice queen, isn't she?
Yeah. Quite
pink,
dark. Quite
pink
dark.
stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah, she's quite dark coloured, is it? For
Yeah,
bee,
so I
isn't it?
mean, I suppose I better explain. So the hives you come from were pretty much buckfast. I took the capsule a month ago. Yeah, about a month ago. And obviously made up a nuke. But obviously she's open mated, so she could, that's a mongrel, basically. She's a mongrel. She's a mixture of any, you know, Italian bee, buckfast. They call them local adapted bees now. But then the reason I probably, it doesn't make a difference, but the reason I'm rearing my own queens is that they come off queens that survived through the winter here in Norfolk, because you do get all the different climates right across the UK. So it makes sense to take a queen cell from her when she's managed to get through the winter healthy and come out strong. Take a queen from her, and hopefully she'll carry on and have some of her mother's genetics in her. But she's nice, she's decent size, so I'm pleased with that. That's what you want to be careful. You don't want to squish them when you put the frames back. That would be a bad day. I mean, I haven't used any smoke on these yet, and they're calm. Look at that. Lovely. She has a nice pattern, that is. Well, they'll certainly be happy in a... Look at that, it's nice as well. That. I mean, you can tell that's a good laying pattern. A good queen, the way they're laying, pretty much everywhere. And as you go out towards the edges, there's younger larvae that isn't capped, and then you move out a bit further and there's eggs. so that's the correct pattern you want.
Yeah.
Because when they hatch out, she'll go in there and lay some eggs, and then around the edges there will be cat brood, and so on. So it's a rotation. But you can see this come from a buckfast, because I mean, all these bees are obviously pretty much buckfast colour.
So has that hive got time to make honey then this year? That you can take
No,
from it?
I don't,
No,
don't
you
get
just
no honey.
let it keep its
Build
honey
it up, get it strong.
and let it keep it for the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it will be where 10th are we? 10th of July. So they've got a good, I mean, at least till the end of September, and some queens probably lay till October, depends how warm the weather is. But by the time it'll be good to revisit this
Yeah, that will. Yeah.
in September to see how, hopefully, how big is. Look at all the pollen they got on there. All them bees with pollen on. See them on their pollen legs? Fine. So another thing, this is British Standard National, which is the most popular hives in the UK. So I use the Deep National DN4s, they're called, Deep National brood frame. When I first started, I used to use 11 frames and a dummy board, but 12 frames will fit in. So I've stopped using the dummy boards now, because in my mind they certainly can store another £5 of food in here for the winter, which if you had the dummy board in, you're a frame less.
What is the idea of the dummy
That's
board?
The dummy board is like this, exactly like this.
Help
but
you?
that's
Is
wood.
it just to help you?
Yeah,
help you
so
check
when you
the
take
bees,
the dummy
isn't it?
board out, I just
You've
give you
got
more
space,
space to
yeah.
inspect. But I've not found any problems. I mean, I'm sure people will comment, you know, and they do. But if you've got full bees, generally the outer ones are food frames anyway. So, and when you do lift them out, just be gentle, and they'll roll. All right, you don't want to roll too many bees when you're pulling them out, but if you're gentle, I find not a problem.
Yeah.
And I think that just gives them.
Especially for overwintering, that's exactly what you
Well,
want.
on a
More
frame you
food,
fit
innit?
another £5 of food, so I can't see any problem with it, and I haven't had any problem.
Make
with,
a lot of difference, doesn't it?
you know, not using a dummy board. So now there's 12 frames in there, and yeah, when they get a bit full and you get a bit round with bees and all that kind of stuff, but when you hook it out, just be gentle and just take your time. Yeah, feel roll, but you know they don't get too aggressive. I haven't found anyway. So that's them installed. I'm happy with, very pleased with that actually.
So how long were they in a nuke before you put them in there?
They were. I mean, that took quite a while for the. That's another thing. It does take a while from capped queen cell to a new mated queen. That's took a month.
Yeah.
For
Before
people
that's
watching and think, I was checking, it's been 3 weeks. These and most of mine that I've requeened or set up a new nuke with a capped queen cell have taken about a month before they started laying eggs.
reproducing.
So that does take time.
Yeah. So rarely you get now another month. You'd rarely too late to do that again, aren't you?
You are.
The bees wouldn't produce enough bees to overwinter, would they?
This is. I've got another three nukes down the allotment. I made one up yesterday because I found a capped queen cell in one of my other hives. I'll put that in, but that will stay in a nuke. They'll overwinter in a nuke.
Yeah, because I want.
They're just not going to fill up a full hive that quick. So I'll just overwinter in a nuke. Generally the BS honey ones, because they're got more density in the foam. They're warmer, so they stand more chance of getting through. I collected a swarm last week, I think, which we see on over Catton Park. And I'll see how they build up. I mean, if they're quite prolific, and they can build up quite quick. If there's a mated queen, which I believe it is, I haven't done an inspection yet, but I think she's a mated queen, she's going to start laying eggs immediately. So you've got another good 2 months, just 2 and a bit cycles of brood hatching. So that should, if I put it in a full hive, like I said, I have to see how it goes, and I check in a week's time, but that potentially can go in a full hive. But I can't see the other 2 I've got then lot are going to overwinter. And I'm going to do some splits in a couple of weeks to purposely overwinter some nukes. So that's that. Anyway, so I'm getting some sugar syrup on these now. So this is 2-to-1 mixture. 2 parts sugar to 1 part water. A lot of people say use 1-to-1 in summertime, but I think there's been a bit of study, and 1-to-1 sugar syrup can cause dysentery in bees.
Oh, right.
So I've just fed exclusively on 2-to-1 this year, and actually, I do use the thymol solution, which a 2-to-1 solution shouldn't go mould anyway, but the thymol, and that's unscientific. That's because it's got thymol in it, and some of the treatments you use, chemical treatments you use for varroa mite, it's got thymol base. So there's a theory that they're eating the sugar syrup with the thymol in, and that's potentially maybe keeping a little bit varroa free. So this is the 2-to-1 mixture, and these feeders are great because if I wanted to, 15 litres in. They're brilliant, and I put them right on top of the frames, because a lot of people will put the crown board on and just line it up with one of them holes. Don't see any reason why to do that, because there's no gaps under them wasps to get in, or anything to get in to rob the syrup. And of course, when you put them directly on the frames, they've got direct access straight to it. They hopefully get to it quicker and start drawing out the frames quicker. That's the plan. So you can see how much, that's not even half full, so you can see how much you can get in there. So I give them plenty to draw that co-mate, and I just trickle a little bit inside, just so they know where the food is. couple of dead bees in the last time I used this feeder. Another one gone in. Getting a lot of these yellow pollen, aren't we?
Yeah.
Do close up this bee that stays there. So I have to look on my pollen chart to see what that is. I'm not quite sure. Are they looking? Right, back you go.
So that other hive there is just a nuke that you put in a whole hive.
I put this one last week, I think, didn't I?
Oh, last
Lose
week.
track of
Yeah.
time. Right, okay. So that's sorted. There's another thing I do. I do put them into full hive, give them a bit of insulation. You know, even though the weather is reasonably warm, I think that just gives them a little bit
Of a head,
extra.
yeah, a bit of a head start, really, isn't it?
Just to keep the syrup a little bit warmer, which they prefer. They'll use less of their own energy, so hopefully put the energy into building out the frames and so on. So. On the lid. And there you go.
Yeah, that'll do, won't it?